Salut classe! Aujourd'hui, on parle des verbes réfléchis, the verbs that we have been working with, and you've probably noticed all start with this little guy, se. And what that means when you see that pronoun is that the verb is called reflexive. So we have to talk today about what reflexive verbs are and what they do. So let's get moving. Reflexive verbs, these are the kind of verbs where the action gets performed on or reflected back onto the subject. And what's different about them in French is we have to use a little reflexive pronoun in addition to the subject pronoun. Reflexive pronouns go in front of the verb, so they're going to be stuck in between the subject and the reflexive pronoun, which is very different for us. So let's take a look at what these pronouns are. Okay, here we go. So if the subject is je, then the reflexive pronoun is going to be me or m apostrophe. For tu, our pronoun is te. Either elle or on or any singular noun is se. The reflexive pronoun for nous is nous. That's what makes it very backwards for us, or really weird to say. The vous reflexive pronoun is vous. And then for il and elle, it is also se in the plural form. So let's look at a whole conjugation of a verb and we'll see how it worked out. So if we take the verb se laver, which means to wash yourself, okay? So if I want to say I wash myself right here, je is my subject. Now I'm washing myself, so that myself part is going to be here. Oh, well, I guess we're not going in that order. So the first thing you want to remember is laver is an ER verb, which means that my endings are E, ES, then E, O and S, then EZ, and then ENT. So then we have to add in our reflexive pronouns. So, je me lave. If I'm washing myself, it's je me lave. I wash myself. Tu te laves, il se lave, nous nous lavons, vous vous lavez, il se lave. So that's how you would conjugate a reflexive verb in the present tense. Which, of course, we're not going to stop with the present tense, but this is enough for now, right? Couple things to keep in mind about reflexive verbs. If we're talking about body parts, which is pretty common, we brush our hair, we brush our teeth, wash our face. We use the definite article as opposed to the mon, ma, me, our possessive adjectives, which is something that we wouldn't necessarily do. In English, for example, to say, I brush my teeth, je me brosse les dents. Les really means the. I brush myself the teeth. So by making a reflexive here, it's understood that the teeth are mine. If I were brushing somebody else's teeth, like a dog or something, it wouldn't be a reflexive verb because the action would not be coming back to me. All right, in the negative, this is where we have a lot of fun. We got to remember my two parts are ne and pas. And the ne goes before the reflexive pronoun. And then the pas goes after the verb. So elle se lève would be she gets up. Elle ne se lève pas. So what's really important to remember is that the reflexive pronoun and the verb stick together. They never separate. Something to take a look at in inversion. We don't see this a lot, but what you're going to do, remember inversion, we switch the subject and the verb. So take a look at what happens. Tu te brosses les dents, you brush your teeth. What happens here is this tu, we tack it to the end here of the brosse, and then the te stays in front. All right? So, what else? Remember, not just because the verb is reflexive when we learned it doesn't mean that it can't exist in a non-reflexive situation. So, for example, I washed my hair versus maybe I'm washing the car, okay? So I'm still using the verb laver to wash, but here the action comes back to me, whereas in this one, the action is going onto the car. It's not coming back to me. So that's a non-reflexive situation in which we would use laver. Okay, moving on. We are really excited because we get to learn a stem-changing verb. All right. We have the verb se lever, and it ends in E, a consonant, and then ER. What happens is that second to last E, this E right here, is going to change to an E with a grab in all forms except for the nous and the vous. So, je me lève, tu te lèves, il se lève, nous nous levons, vous vous levez, and il se lève. Oops. So it kind of takes on a boot format here. We'll talk about this more in class because this is kind of a complicated concept. Another fun verb we get to learn that's reflexive is s'asseoir. It's totally irregular, so take 30 seconds to write this verb down in your notes. Je m'assieds, tu t'assieds, il s'assied, nous nous asseyons, vous vous asseyez, il s'asseye. Alright, so this is, and the past participle is assis. This is a good point to pause your notes. We're dealing just with the present tense right now, and we're going to pick up at another time with the imperative. Alright, so I'll see you guys later. If you're just joining us, we are now moving on. We've done the present tense of reflexive verbs. So now we're going to jump into the imperative, which remember is a command form. Back in, November, October, we learned that there are 3 different kinds of imperative or command. We could be yelling at one person to do something, that's the tu form. We could be yelling at more than one person, that's our vous form. Or we could be making a suggestion, let's do blah, blah, blah. All right. Remember, for regular verbs, we dropped the subject. So if I wanted to tell you to do your homework, you do your homework. Here, I just got rid of the subject. Do your homework! Not that I ever say that. And then remember our other little rule we had to drop the S in the tu form of an ER verb. So you play soccer, okay, became play soccer. So reflexive commands are pretty much just as easy, except we have a little extra step. So the first thing you're going to do is get rid of the subject, which you can see in blue. Here's my subject too, so that we get rid of that first. All right, now here I'm left with my reflexive pronoun and my verb. What you do is you attach that reflexive pronoun, that yellow guy, it's going to go after the verb with a hyphen. So to lave becomes lave te, but we don't even really like that te, so the te, bye, see, au revoir. That te changes to toi after the verb. And we also have to take off that S for the ER verbs, just like we would in a normal command. So my command becomes lave-toi. The 3 steps are pretty, it sounds kind of long, but once you get the hang of it, it's really not so bad. Lave-toi, lève-toi, brosse-toi. They all end in E, which is kind of nice. So here's some examples. You get up. So I want to say, come on guys, everyone, get up. And I actually say this a fair amount. So first thing, we drop the subject. So see, the blue is gone. And then I attach my reflexive pronoun, which is the vous, onto the end. So it becomes levez-vous. Here's a suggestion one. We want to say, let's brush our hair. Step 1, drop the subject. Step 2, we attach the reflexive pronoun to the end. Bam! Our complicated part becomes the negative. In the negative, the reflexive pronoun goes back where it was. Annoying, right? I know. So levez-vous becomes ne vous levez pas. Notice how the vous switch spots. All right? And that toi, you guessed it, is going to change back to te. So lave-toi, the toi is coming back in front, and it becomes te again. Ne te lave pas. Here's a good chance to try some out. Okay, pause the video, give these 3 a try. I'll give you the answers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Bam! There you go. How'd you do? All right. Another pause in the video, the last section we're not going to get to for a little while. And that is Passé, Composé. Welcome back! Here we go with reflexive verbs in the Passé, Composé. I know the Passé, Composé is your favorite thing in the whole wide world. Number 1 thing to remember is that il y a 2 parties au Passé, Composé. We have either avoir or être as our helping verb. Remember, we only used être for Mr., Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verbs. Our second part was the past participle. And we would form past participles by taking out the ER, adding EX on aigu, etc., etc. Right? It's all coming back to you. So, well, there's two parts in the Passé Composé of normal verbs. With reflexive verbs, there's three parts. What do you think the extra part is? The extra part is that reflexive pronoun, the thing that makes these verbs reflexive. And our helping verb for reflexives is always être. So that's nice. We don't have to pick. And then we're going to have our past participle. And just like with our Van der Tramp verbs, you have to make agreement. Anytime être is your helping verb, your past participle has to match your subject, which means adding an E or adding an S. Now, of course, there's always a good an exception to the rule. If we come across a body part, we do not make agreement. So this means she washed herself, which is all fine and dandy. Here's my pronoun, helping verb, and my past participle. I made agreement. She's a girl. But say she washed her hair, the reason is we have this direct object. So now all of a sudden, no agreement. Les cheveux is considered to be the direct object. All right. Here's an example of inversion. Write it down. Don't concern yourself crazy with this. We don't really deal with it a lot. The next thing we got to talk about is in the negative, and that's really important, okay? The ne goes before the pronoun, and the pas goes after être. So, tu t'es rasé, you shaved yourself. Tu ne t'es pas rasé. Always leave the rasé last, okay? Just like in the passé composé of normal verbs, that past participle is totally unrelated to the negative. The reason is because remember, être is my conjugated verb. That's the one that matches my subject, tu. Okay. So, oh gosh, I forgot about s'asseoir. The past participles, SC, you already wrote down. So here's an example of s'asseoir in the passé composé. Pretty crazy, right? Look at that E. Oh, jeez. Okay, now we're ready. These 4 sentences are in the present tense. Pause the video and try and rewrite them in the passé composé. It's not easy, right? Pause it. Come on, people. All right, here are your answers. All right, please come into class with questions. We're going to talk about these when I see you next. And the next slide is something to help you kind of give you a visual of an entire verb conjugated in the passé composé. So here are how our parts work out. Here's my reflexive pronoun, je me. Here's my helping verb, suis. Here's my past participle. So each one of these has changes based on the subject. Tu t'es lavé, elle s'est lavée, nous nous sommes lavés, vous vous êtes lavés, ils se sont lavés. Pretty crazy, right? We're getting into a lot of different parts here with these reflexive verbs. But I'm happy to tell you we are at the end of our discussion on reflexive verbs. You can breathe a sigh of relief. We're going to do lots and lots of practice, and you guys will have this. Don't worry. Au revoir.